After a bit over 3 years, I'm upgrading my phone again. And this time I chose to pick it up at the store rather than having it shipped. If you've seen my last iPhone upgrade video, you already know that I don't upgrade every year. The improvements between each generation generally don't convince me. It's not just about having the newest thing. It's about whether the changes align with how I actually use my phone. I've been using the iPhone 13 Pro. The camera was decent, but in low light, detail slipped away. I craved more. So I decided this year, 17 Pro. More storage, better camera, and a more capable chip. But there was also that quiet question. Will I really feel the difference? The packaging has gotten simpler over the years. Apple has stripped away the extras. No stickers, no filler, no layers of superfluous wrapping. Just the phone, a cable, and the essentials. It feels efficient, but also a little bare compared to how it used to be. Inside, the layout is precise. The phone rests flat in the box, waiting. Powering it on, a few things immediately stand out. The new A19 Pro chip promises a leap in both performance and efficiency. Paired with a redesigned vapor chamber cooling system, it should hold up better under heavier workloads, avoiding the throttling that past models sometimes struggled with. The display has also taken a step forward. It's noticeably brighter outdoors, pushing up to 3000 nits at peak, and the new ceramic shield coating helps cut glare while adding more scratch resistance. It's the kind of change you won't notice every moment, but when the light hits at the wrong angle or when the phone takes that inevitable drop, it matters. For storage, this time I went with 1 terabyte. It's a big jump from the 256 gigabytes on my 13 Pro, but one I've needed for a while. I was constantly managing space, deleting old files just to make room. Now I can finally use the phone the way I want without that constant pressure. The reason I opted for the 17 Pro and not the 17 Pro Max is simple. I don't like phones that are hard to pocket or awkward for one-handed use. Bigger isn't always better. This size feels like the right balance between presence and comfort. The setup process itself was almost effortless. Everything from my 13 Pro transferred over, including the move from a physical SIM card to eSIM. What could have been a headache turned out to be seamless, done in seconds. The full transfer took about an hour, but I barely had to lift a finger. When it finished, everything was right where I left it. While the phone was syncing, I opened a transparent case I picked up. Simple, but it lets the new design show through without covering it up. A small detail, but one that makes the phone feel fresh. Unboxing this phone doesn't feel dramatic anymore. It feels refined, purposeful. Everything in its place, nothing more, nothing less. With it set up, the real question became how it stacks up against the iPhone 13 Pro. Side by side, the 13 Pro and 17 Pro tell two different stories. The 13 Pro feels like the product of its time, sharp, squared off, intentional. The 17 Pro, though, is softened, more fluid, more considered in the way it sits in the hand. The most immediate difference is on the back. The camera panel is strikingly larger, extending further across the surface and demanding more visual attention. The lenses stand taller, more pronounced, almost sculptural. It's a design shift that makes the camera system feel like the centerpiece of the phone rather than just one part of it. For storage, going from 256 gigabytes on my 13 Pro to 1 terabyte now feels like a luxury. It's not just about numbers, it's about freedom. I don't have to constantly prune old photos, clear caches, or second guess whether I can keep shooting in ProRAW. Everything fits, everything stays, and that's a very different experience. The curves of the 17 Pro are noticeably softer compared to the harder edges of the 13 Pro. Where the 13 bites into the palm after long use, the 17 eases into it, more comfortable for extended holding. The finish itself feels refined, with smoother transitions that give the entire frame a cleaner, more modern look. On thickness, this is where I stand firm. Not everything has to be thinner and thinner. Phones especially don't need to chase that trend. That's why I didn't even consider the brand new iPhone Air. The thickness of a phone should be defined by how comfortable it is to hold, not just how slim it can get. The 17 Pro leans into that idea. It's thicker than the 13 Pro, but in a way that makes it feel more natural in the hand. The added weight follows the same logic. Yes, it's slightly heavier, but that weight translates into a sense of solidity rather than burden. It feels deliberate, as if the phone is built to last rather than pared down to the point of fragility. I'm showing the 13 Pro's Rimowa case here as a reference. The new one I ordered will be in silver this time to match the phone, though I do wish Apple still offered the dark gray shade I had before. It would have been my first choice again. Even so, it'll be interesting to see how the finish plays against the updated design of the 17 Pro. Altogether, the design changes are more significant than I first expected. They make the phone feel distinctly new, but not in a way that abandons what's familiar. It's evolution rather than reinvention. Now it's time to see how the camera holds up. The camera improvements are real, but from where I sit, they're not always dramatic. They exist in the fine print, the subtle shifts, not the kind of leap that immediately changes the way you shoot. All three rear cameras now use 48 megapixel sensors. On paper, that means sharper detail, more flexibility when cropping or zooming, and greater control over dynamic range. In practice, the differences are most noticeable in the edges of light and shadow. Where the 13 Pro might blow out a highlight, the 17 Pro holds it in. Shadows render with a touch more clarity, and low light shots carry less noise. But in everyday situations, taking photos indoors, walking around the city, or capturing something outside in bright light, the gap between the 13 Pro and the 17 Pro isn't as wide as I expected. Settings, of course, play a role in how your photos and videos turn out. Starting with photographic styles, this one is very personal. There isn't a right or wrong style, just the tone you prefer. For me, I gravitate toward amber. It adds warmth that feels more natural to how I see the scene. In formats, you can choose between high efficiency and most compatible. High efficiency keeps file sizes smaller and works seamlessly if you stay within Apple's ecosystem. Most compatible creates larger files, but makes it easier to share with older devices or platforms that don't always handle newer codecs well. When it comes to recording video, you get the choice of 4K at 30 frames per second or 4K at 60. 30 frames is plenty for most situations. It looks natural and cinematic, but if you're shooting action, fast movement, or just prefer smoother playback, 60 frames per second is the way to go, so long as you're fine with the bigger file sizes that come with it. In short, the 17 Pro camera feels versatile and slightly refined. It's capable, and it does edge ahead of the 13 Pro in specific situations, but overall it isn't a reinvention, and for me, the leap isn't large enough to feel truly game-changing. Holding the iPhone 17 Pro now, I feel both satisfied and slightly underwhelmed. Satisfied because the storage, the design, the display, these really do make a difference in daily use. Underwhelmed because beyond those refinements, it doesn't feel drastically improved. Phones themselves may be reaching a limit. With the rise of AI, I think we're moving toward a future where what we carry might not even be a phone in the traditional sense anymore, but something designed for interaction in a completely different way. Should you upgrade as well? I would if you're coming from a 13 or anything older, but if you already have a 16, you might want to hold off for bigger improvements down the line.